Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Classic Quest podcast. It's your boy HSR.
And it is your lady friend Bonnie.
And Chris's family had him doing more stuff, so he's not here. And that's okay. So what we're going to do now is just go over the housekeeping portion of the episode. And if you want to skip that, you can feel free to do so by checking the timestamp in the description of this video. So basically, we're going to go through this album track by track. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to give our impressions onto how we feel. And just keep in mind, we're not necessarily the most astute hip-hop heads.
We're just giving our opinions.
We're just learning as we go.
Opinions are not facts.
And before we move forward, I just want to say thank you to our patrons, Mozart, and Lindell Williams.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
And as much as I'd like to try to push this to the end to describe what we do there, this episode's a little special because once a month we have a request raffle for our patrons where each of them get to pick an album or something that they want us to cover. And this episode is the very first result of that request raffle where Mozart requested the album that we will be talking about tonight. We went live, we picked that, and now we're here. Next month, they have a whole other album request. So for now, basically, they get to cherry pick what they want to see us cover month to month, and that's something you can maybe join them on if you like this episode at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we're going to just also read our favorite comment from last week's episode. It's personally my favorite comment, so I put it up just because we talked about Common B, which was requested by Gio as part of our contest that had just ended. Mm-hmm. And Lindell...
That was a great album, by the way, folks. If you haven't checked it out, go check out the review.
Very much so. And Lindell Williams commented, and I'm not just picking him because he's the other patron, it's because I love the comment. We got to give Eric Benet a break. Because for me, I was just fascinated how much Eric Benet actually gets brought up over the course of music, and I had never heard of him before very recently. And he had a sex addiction, lol, ha ha ha. This is Lindell again. But anyway, you can check the Wendy Williams interview for better details. So I did. I listened to the Eric Benet Wendy Williams things. Man, is that woman gossipy.
Oh, I love it, though. It's so much fun.
So I listened to it as they didn't say it directly, but they made it really clear that Miss Halle Berry is not very exciting or adventurous in the bedroom, meaning that Mr. Eric Benet felt like to get his jollies, he would have to stray from the pastures of delightful looking, but not necessarily delightful feeling. You can't
have everything.
Anyway,
right? Halle was just doing Halle.
I just thought it was great because when I did listen to the interview, that's more or less what they talked about. Granted, it was mostly Wendy Williams suggesting it and Eric trying to get out of admitting it, and it was really a little bit entertaining, more so than it should have been. And then he goes on to say, as far as the album goes, it's insightful, but it won't please everybody as far as taste. And I think the scores were right because they represent the opinions of most, and I get where he's coming from. There's a few stylistic things about Common B where, unless you're necessarily into that soulful feel that they put there, you might be a little off-put. Like, if you just can't stand the core of New York sound, you may not like that album. And maybe it's Chicago sound. I don't really know, but that soulful,
Chicago sound,
jazzy... Right? They're from Chicago, but when I picture jazz and soul and stuff, my brain just immediately pictures the New York rap scene. I don't know. That's just
weird.
Me.
I feel like I go to, Louisiana or something when I think of, jazz. I don't know. That's
I'm really
me.
bad at this side of it. Candidly, I'm not that familiar with the history of these music genres yet, and as time goes on, I will rectify that. But I guess we can go on for ages, but why don't we start this off, and why don't you introduce the album that Mozart decided that we were going to be covering today?
Well, this week, as you saw in the title down below, we are doing Mr. Locksmith, and his album, The Olive Branch, which came out March 31st, 2017, so just over a year ago. Which,
for this particular show of the classics, makes it, I think, the most recent album we may have talked about. No, one of the most recent albums
we've done a few that are, more recent, but...
it's not very often we end up getting there here. But yeah, so... I guess you never heard of Locksmith before this?
No. And when you Google it, legit, like, all that comes up are just locksmiths.
I put the word rapper the first time.
Yeah, you have to put rapper in, and then you get the answer.
To be fair, the guy's Wikipedia page is about 3 to 4 paragraphs long also. So there wasn't like a whole bunch of easy to find information out there. I know he's done interviews and stuff. I didn't have a lot of chance to look up a lot before.
But he's an interesting guy. He's part Iranian and part African American. And I think that's like a really like interesting and I suppose, controversial mix. Yeah, I think that he kind of discusses that in his album and like kind of the prejudices and like the criticisms he has of society and like their view on him in both sets of like identities that he carries with him.
Especially considering the context of all the conversations surrounding American politics in the last year or two. It really adds to that, which I thought was cool. But yeah, I'm not really I may have heard the name before, but I don't think I've ever really listened to this artist before this project. So this was my introduction to him, which is it's a good thing, is I guess something I want to say now. But I love the album cover and just the title, Olive Branch, and it's just like this white background, which is a sign of peace, like the white flag, right? And then an olive branch is like the extension of that, if I'm not mistaken, is also like offering a peace.
Yeah.
So like everything about this album, I don't know like what his past
and then
is like.
The little corner like parental advisory, it's just funny seeing like, all these like peace kind of symbols and then like a warning about that.
Yeah, so peace, fuck you. But basically, yeah, it's really like interesting, right? Because you look at that and you have absolutely no idea what's coming if you don't know him at all, right? So you know that my gut went with something more political, something more like,
and he's pretty popular when you look at like the numbers of like the kind of stuff that when you just look at like how many people have plus his songs and stuff like that. So there is like a big following of him. It's just sort of seems to be a secret.
And also, I can say that he hasn't necessarily become a prevalent force in the Montreal music knowledge scheme that I know of. I've never heard of his name before, but here we are now talking about him, so that's been changed. I don't have a lot more to go here. It's not like I'm that connected to him. Do you want to jump in so we can start talking about the project?
Yes, let's start talking about The Calling.
Sounds so different than what Kanye West does. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, in part of a way, it does.
Like it sounds more like this is rap music coming in right now, Like I don't know, that's just how I got the feel like.
But the same sort of like powerfulness as Kanye, I would say. Like, the same sort of like strength.
Well, yeah, it was definitely strong. It's got like that kind of omnipresent force type music, like it's just soft kind of like notes just resonating as they build up, a couple of effects on it, and then it's short, right? And
a minute 11.
He comes in just kind of talking, and it's like, I can hear you, I can hear your call, and I can see your dreams. I can see them because they're my dreams, They say our past defines you, but I say, fuck that. You make your own rules, because in the end, there's nothing, nobody else, just you. Now, when I heard those words, I was pretty like excited, right? Because this is the introduction to this guy's album. So in a sense, he took the opportunity to give us a bit of a mission statement for, I suppose, what he wants to express throughout the rest of this project, or at least the core mantra that's maybe driving what he wants to say throughout this project in his peace offering.
Yeah.
And it's more like you can't let other people define you. At the end of the day, the path that's out there, whatever you're going to do, it has to like come from you and like be your own person and be driven by your own strength. And I don't know, lately I've been on a learning quest, and it just seems that all the wise people who seem to know how to do shit properly all seem to kind of point in a very similar direction. Weirdly enough, it's a little bit what Kanye West was trying to convey to people in a poor way. So I thought that was like super cool. It just kind of is talky, it's short, and it almost feels like it serves as a bit of an intro to the following track as well. So I thought that was really nice, but like, I don't know, I give it a 4.25. It's short, it's concise, it says what it's got to say, doesn't really reinvent the wheel in any way. It's just like a proper, nice album intro that does its job exactly like what it's supposed to do.
Yep. I'm pretty similar. I mean, I thought it sounded kind of like eerie and spiritual almost, and it sounds like he's talking like over like a faint crowd, like, or maybe he's just kind of talking to himself. Like, you're not sure if he's doing this for the audience or for himself. And he's just kind of saying like, make your own rules because, you know, in the end it's just you. And like the just you part of the last line is like spoken like pretty loudly and clearly. Like he really wants you to like understand that. And it makes you kind of wonder what's going to happen next. Like, it makes you interested in the album. It kind of like, you know, gets your like interests up. And like by the sound of like the crowd that's like cheering behind the song, you know, they're all cheering him on and think he's great, but he's kind of like, just be by yourself. Like, don't be like the sheep that are following who are like listening to you. Like, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting and amazing if they're there and they're his audience. If that's like legit, you know, the size of his audience, then that's pretty cool. So yeah, I gave it a 4.5 on 5. Solid intro.
All right, so let's move on to Nobody.
All right.
Told me, nigga, don't be hesitant. I done made more in this last half year than I did in my career.
All right, Bonnie, how do you feel about this one?
This one was pretty good. It was pretty powerful. This is sort of just like him talking about like his past and like his struggle to make it. And he just kept on trying and like, you know, he made it because he was honest and he was skilled and, you know, everybody who was saying that like he wouldn't be able to get there, like he's like kind of like whatever, like, you know, he doesn't need to listen to anybody because if he had, he wouldn't have made it. You know, like if he listened to all these people who are like telling him crap. And he does what he does, and that's all he cares about. He works alone. He can't trust anybody. And he sounds like a little bit angry, like maybe he was like screwed over like one too many times, and like that's why he's like, you know what, I'm not working with anyone ever again. Like, this is ridiculous. You know, like he's kind of like at that point. The beat is like creepy and kind of hype. And for me, like it kind of made me think of David Banner, like the way his flow is, the composition of like the songs, like the production value that goes into his music. Like it made me feel like that kind of like feeling as David Banner. Yeah, I really like this song. He makes it clear that he does not fuck with nobody. I gave it a 5 on 5.
Yeah, it's a cool song. So first off, I love this flow. The way he comes in, the kind of fast pace, but still super clear and not like overly aggressive. It's just more like he's got a lot to say and he's spitting it casually, fast and rhythmic and tight. So it's like da 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 da, as opposed to like a Tech 9 flow where it feels like really intense and harsh, or maybe a Bone Thugs flow that's like great, super airy and loose. You know, like this is just kind of like this kind of casual tightness. I really enjoy it. It's one of, like, I'd say I'm a sucker for that kind of rap flow when I hear it. Yeah, the beat kind of sounds like almost the intro beat, but a little bit more dark, picked up, like more intense, ready to go. So like it makes sense that there were separate tracks, but like it was cool. Like it flowed really nicely. The first verse definitely has him talking about his past, but like in a way where he seems like he's pensive. He's like in the future, he's not made it, but he's kind of reflecting on the what he's kind of gone through to get here and kind of almost comparing it, you know? I like when he's like, think about the moment when your boy was unemployed and couldn't pay the fucking rent, started making music, but it wasn't money. It wasn't making money, so I used it as a way to vent. I'm like, right off the jump, you get the sense that, at least from a lyrical point of view, he's got something to say that's a little bit different than a lot of what we may have talked about in the pop. Like, he's kind of one of the guys who just didn't have it all work out. So right away, the fact that he's had to struggle, the fact that he's like 32 when this album drops, yeah, and he's only then starting to kind of pop. Like, to me, that's cool. I feel like in general, I've been saying it for
dreams.
But like for a good year and a half, like in my life, I've been pointing out like, where's the music for like the late 20s, early 30s people who are still trying to have dreams and like pursue them and stuff, you know? Like that doesn't seem to really exist because it only seems to be now that people in their 30s are starting to break through and have these stories to share with us. So in those first two lines, it was like all of that passed through my mind. Like, damn, this is a guy who is like able to now understand that like music turned into an avenue to express real shit, because at the end of the day he wasn't one of the ones who was just making money on it, so there was no reason to pursue that, and you may as well do the most you can absolutely do out of it. And that was just such an inspiring and like super relatable little bit, and I was just like, I think almost the first 2 lines of the songs. Anyway, he goes on and he like takes a loan from his father, and then things didn't necessarily work out. He didn't really think he'd like make it to the era of where he is now, but he's clearly like from a position looking back of success. I like when he's like, I was at the cousin at the dope spot when the foe shot loved ones, had the killers had the crescent lit, and I've been focused ever since. Credit to the Nessa told me, don't be hesitant. I'd have made more in the last half year than I did in my career. That is no embellishment. Now, for what I'm hearing here is that like, when he was younger and up to some tomfoolery, he was trying to maybe be out on the corner doing what we may have heard about in some of the other people's songs. Some people died, and it really fazed him enough to go and take this music thing.
But wait, doesn't he talk about something about the crescent?
Yeah.
I'm thinking that has to do with like maybe his like Islamic side of things, like the crescent moon.
Well, he goes, I was with the cousin at the dope spot when the foe shot loved ones and the killers had the crescent lit. So, like, I feel like in that point he's talking about, like, a street crescent.
Okay.
And somebody got killed.
Okay.
Because, like, fired up or whatever. And, like, I mean, you just get the sense that, like, he saw some stuff he didn't want to be involved with and chose, like, a different path. I'm not going to say he's the only guy that I've ever heard with this kind of a story, but he's one of the more talented guys I've ever heard with this kind of a story, making this style of rap music. Like, it's not just your average, oh, I'm the fucking best. It's more like, listen to my story so you can see, like, my background and my credentials a little bit. And sure, there's a bit of braggadocious nature to it, but it's coming from a place of confidence, and he's here to tell you why. And I thought that the tone he's chosen here is really fucking interesting. And you really see it in the pre-hook, where he's kind of pointing out how, like, people just kind of like look at him and he understands the game and they want to be like him but are not really like that. And then there's that hook, and this is maybe the only reason I didn't give it a full 5. I don't really like some of his hooks when he does his repetitious stuff. Like, I know what he's doing, and I'm certain a lot of y'all out there really dig that shit, but I don't dig the way he does it. So the words in the hook, the I don't fuck with nobody thing was cool, I guess, but I found it kind of annoying by the end of the song. But the verses were still fucking, because it's like a 5-minute song.
Yeah.
It's fucking stellar verses, though, because I'm still on the first verse. We haven't even moved on to the second one yet. Okay. In the second verse, he's exploring a little bit more the grind where he took and like where he is with like some of his whatevers. Like, he's like, I don't recall a time I was at all given what I did to earn, so I'm not smitten by your concern at any negativity term. You disguised as love, but shovel shit when I'm looking. And here you have him like kind of pointing out like he's had to work for everything, so he's never kind of been like distracted or deluded by like the falsities that come with having to impress people and go through all that bullshit. And so he doesn't have like a false sense of love. He understands what's real or not. While you was on looking, I steadily grew a team, started to get attention, but that could be too extreme. Sort of a lucid dream, nothing you used to seeing. Look at my inbox and it's all women. I just continue to fill up these venues and murder these stages. I'm getting my bread. So, well, everyone's focused about maybe like the flashiness and the social media campaigns and to look cool for the sake of whatever. He's just so focused on the business, building out his team, putting the pieces in place so that he can keep getting the shows, making the money, and have an inbox full of women, which he mentions like twice on this song. I mean, the rhymes are just pretty ridiculous. They're pretty solid. The third verse continues on with this. It's a little shorter. The beat like flips up a little bit, I think, and it kind of hones in on why he doesn't fuck with anybody. Stuff like people always rap about it, but they never own shit. I don't see the point of me pointing out any difference I wouldn't mention, let alone get along with. And I like that. So he's like saying, I just don't like the fake shit, but I don't see the benefit in like honing in and like, pointing out all the disagreements that we may have and like ideologies and stuff. He's just like, I don't fuck with what they do and their way they are. And so I'm gonna fuck with the real shit. And he just kind of ends the song like that with a lot more I don't fuck with nobodies and whatnot.
Yep.
I give this a 4.75. I really didn't like the hook a little bit. Like, it just kind of got on my nerves, but everything else was so fucking good. I think every song practically had a music video. We were like on his channel watching it on the TV on YouTube, so it just kept playing another one and another one. So I don't know what video went with this song, but they're all shot like with really nice cameras and.
But they all seem to be done with like HD cameras, and like it seems like very like modern and very like cinematography esque, like good like director or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, so they all looked cool, but I guess there was no way in the time frame I was going to keep track of them all.
Did you get that? The next song's called No Way.
Stop to soak them in. I'm just trying to find a way. I remember nobody noticed him. All
right, Bonnie, how do you feel about this one?
I like this one. It was good. We have a feature of Rebecca Nobel or Nobel. I don't know if she's in any way related to
the Peace Prize
guy. But anyways, so she's featured on here, and he's made it on his own. Basically, he's talking about, and people from the past keep coming into his life, keep calling him, but he's kind of like over it and over them. And he put in his 10,000 hours to make it and to be successful, which is something that you talk about a lot.
Because I read
he's an expert now.
If you want to know more, you should read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers. It's very informative.
Yeah. And like that's what makes you an expert, if I'm not mistaken. And like nobody's gonna like drag him down. He believed in himself, and like that's how he made it. Like he doesn't have to listen to anybody. And he doesn't tell many people about his dreams and like his hopes and like what his plans are, because he doesn't want people to give their like negative thoughts or their opinions and like concerns and criticisms about them. Like he's just keeping them to himself, and he's doing himself, and he's gonna make it on his own. He's talking about how he kept his dream alive, and you have to keep your dream alive because once it's gone, it's gone. And I enjoy the piano in it. There's a lot of piano featured in this album, and I really enjoy that. I've mentioned that before, that I really enjoy listening to piano music, so I like that. So the beat was really awesome as well in this one. And then the last minute or so was sort of like dramatic in the way that it sounded. It was a really cool song. I liked it. It was a 4.5 for me.
All right. So... I'm not the hugest fan of the hook of this song.
Okay.
It's kind of over the top, like popish, like in not like the like modern like EDM sense of pop, but more of that singy, like I guess what you would expect. I don't know. There's just something about it that like I did not.
It sounds like radio.
A lot, yeah. Like just the chorus, right? Because the verses, on the other hand,
and the beat a little bit at first.
No. The verses are a little bit radio-y, and that's okay. Like I don't mind them though, because he comes in kind of like I love what he's saying though. Like I know what it means. I know what to do now. I saw it in my dreams. I know I'm in tune now. That's again that like visualization, that introspection. That's like what you're trying to go for in life, and you're gonna fuck the haters, and you're gonna take that path, and you're in tune with your destiny, and that's amazing, right? So I know it kind of sounds like I'm being a hater, but the message is fucking amazing. The delivery is a little wishy-washy, in my opinion, but it's okay. It fits what he's doing with the song, right? I like the way the verses kind of start off slow, layered, like I've been on a grind, I've been on the road, I've been hard to find. He starts off slow, and then he like picks up the rhythm and stuff, and like goes into almost the double time as the second half of the verse. And
maybe it's almost like he's kind of showing you like, in his music like how fast he's going and like how hard he's working.
Yeah, and it's a good way to kind of show I can rap slow too. I'm not just one of those guys who raps fast, but we'll pick it up for all of you who came here for the fast rapping. I like the way it flows in, I remember nobody noticed him. I just take it day to day. I never come that close again. You can say I'm crazy, hey. But, I mean, it's just kind of like your normal, like, I don't want to say you're normal, but like your normal guy on the grind, making it happen. Like, it's so humanizing. It's so, like, good to listen to this. Like, it honestly, like... You just feel like a guy who's tired of, like, the bullshit and the backs. And then he has the whole part there, like, where he doesn't want to be broke and whatnot, but he also doesn't really want to be caught up in the industry crap. So he focuses on his craft and just getting better. Because, 10,000 hours is the idea that in order to be good at something, you need to put in 10,000 hours of practice. And so he's saying he has done that, and now he's ready to reap the rewards. Second,
Practice a lot.
yeah, second verse kind of has him a little bit more. People were doubting him. He kept believing himself. He understands that disappointment is not a comfortable thing, and it is the type of thing that while you're going through it can crush you. I like the part where he's like, I know disappointment stings, and I know everything it brings can either break you down, make you strong, and build your self-esteem. I don't open up often and stay guarded. That's my thing. Better watch who you share your hopes with. Never let no one kill your dreams, right? Because disappointment is crushing, and honestly, it can flip on you so quick. So, I think a rookie move is when you're younger, you tell everyone about everything. And then things don't all go according to plan a little bit. And then shit starts to blow up. And then disappointment's all around. People don't trust you as much. It's just not a fun or comfortable situation. So you get the sense that he's wise and real as he's going through it, right? So he's trying to share genuinely interesting and what I would say some of the most wise words I've heard come out of rap. How to be a normal person. Not like a celebrity or anything. This is just how to be a normal person music. It's really kind of cool,
It's very relatable. He's very honest and he seems like a guy you would know.
Yeah, and then the third verse, same kind of thing. He just wants to get the attention like everyone else. He just feels so regular. But I love when he goes, so it seems if you sow it seems that I can sow it seems. That was really cool. That was really nice. I gave it a 4.25. Again, it's the sounds of the song a lot more than the message or his talent. If he was on maybe beats I liked more, I would be calling it straight up 5. It makes me want to go hear maybe his mixtapes or see what different sides of him are actually like, because I'm fucking impressed and I want to hear a lot more of what this man has to say. But I guess we can talk about the agenda.
Yes, let's.
Your profit from it, race didn't exist. From the current face of a felon to the state that we fell in.
I was asking for it, and then it came to me. This song is fucking amazing. Seriously. The Tribe Called Quest throwback with that Can You Kick It thing. It's nice.
Oh, that's
it's
what it
kind
is.
of cool. Yeah. The beat is it's just so good. The chorus is good. I'm okay, we're going in strong. And then he starts rhyming, and it's like he did better and more interesting things in the previous 2 tracks, in my opinion. Right at the beginning. They say we live in a generation that's full of gentrification, a gender-based agenda, and a genuine indication. What? There's so much to unpack there. Here's the problem I'm facing. What to quote, what to talk about, because almost every line in this particular track is that dense with that much content. So let's take a look at that. So we're living in a generation that's full of gentrification. I know that our neighborhood that we live in is being gentrified. It's an actual active thing that's happening right now. The rent prices in the neighborhood have gone up hundreds of dollars per month over the last 4 years as a result of the effort. 4 or 5 years. It's actually really crazy to see it kind of happening, to watch the bad people get moved out and the good people moving in. It's crazy. So, just that line. And then the next line flips it to another equally dense topic. A gender-based agenda is a genuine indication. So that would be the political tension of how gender is a hot topic with the disagreement and the civil blah, 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 the way we're being forced division. It's a sign that the division of our entire social structure is a engineered thing. And he just said so much in 2 lines?
Yeah, and I think it's falling apart, right?
Yeah. And then bicker back and forth about who controls the premises, but it's all stolen land from the native people of indigenous. And that's when I thought I was really feeling it, and I had to give the man serious respect, right? Because not enough people talk about the native folk and their plights and what's going on there, especially up here in Canada where we're the fucking worst towards them. But just to go back and be well, everyone here is arguing about who's in control, white, black, this, that. Everyone forgets about the fact that everybody just took the land from natives, and nobody's even bringing them into the conversation, They're not even in the fucking conversation. And that's just a little bit crazy if you really, really think about it. Not to imply that I have a huge stake in the conversation, but I think I can make that statement.
Yeah.
And he just kind of continues on and describes lines turn working class whites against people of all color. We suffer the same affliction through economic restrictions, focus on skin tone while their pockets have since grown. And it's just the idea that take all the poor people, white, black, and use this race and cultural divide to fucking fight each other, even though at the end of the day, poor people of all color suffer the exact same way. Poor people are just poor people. The same ignorance hits their communities. The same bullshit hits their communities. Redneck white people are perceived very poorly, you know? So I guess the idea is just like, this is all a scheme from the people up top. And then he really just kind of like drills that home in the first verse.
Yeah.
He ends it with like, they won't stop until the spectrum is stretched to see ourselves as one. We can never progress. You know, it's not like he really has like this clear vision in his mind, at least, about what we as people need to solve some of our problems. It's not just kind of the nuanced complaining. He almost like, I almost feel like if we listen to what he has to say, or we would give him a chance to speak at a global platform, he might have some useful tidbits to deal with some shit, you know?
Yep.
Then the second verse really drills in on the native verse. Imagine if I came to your house, a house guest, murder your whole family before the food could digest, waited 100 years to make an unlawful pact, and put your grandfather's face on a baseball hat, helmet, or jersey, every sign of a corporate influx. You know, like, whew, that's just fucking powerful right there, right?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what we did. We showed up. They invited us up for food. Like, Thanksgiving's a fucked up holiday if you really think about it. Like, hey, the native people saved us for the winter. Slaughter, you know?
I guess. And yeah.
And then, you know, 100 years later, here's some treaties. Fuck you. And then a couple 100 years later, we deserve the right to keep this racist symbol on our football jersey. I think they're a football team.
Well, there's the Edmonton Eskimos. I think that there were some other ones.
I'm not saying there aren't other ones.
The Redbacks or something. I don't know. There's
But
another.
yeah, I guess there was the baseball team, football. There's a few teams that have had, you know, these things, and it's just like, I guess when you really think about it, it's a little bit fucked up.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to make me think about, and now I'm thinking about it.
I know the Edmonton Eskimos. They're in the CFL, so they're. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
That's our NFL up in Canada.
Yeah.
But I do like the line where he's like, not saying dwell on the past, make him pay afar, but you can't expect us to heal and not acknowledge the scars. And then he kind of spends the rest of the verse commenting on education and how it's a bit of a trap in terms of getting your money, and then you require like therapy to deal with that. But just the idea that you know, like, it's not that anyone wants to dwell on the past, but like, we all need to kind of open up and admit that the past is a real thing that actually happened, and unless we're willing to do so, and I really
have a discussion about it, an open, like, an honest discussion.
Like, if we as white folk, let's say, could just admit there's systematic racism, all of us just admit it, you know. And I'm not. If you don't agree with me, fine, go ahead in the comments. I don't care. I'm just saying, for the sake of argument, and I do think there is. But let's say we all admitted it was a thing, and everybody admitted that we could acknowledge it was a thing. Then nobody could just be like, oh, everyone's a hater. We could all start to work towards the next steps of looking for solutions and stuff. But you know, that's just my point of view on it. Maybe I don't fully understand the complexity of the situation.
But I think it's more than that. I think in doing that, you'd have to, you know, talk about, you know, sexism and racism and, you know,
it's gonna
like
be
ageism. It's just one thing after another.
Well, we have been shitty people for a long time. Just look at the shit we find funny as a society. Go look at comedy over the last 40 years, and you'll get a good idea of how bad we are as people, really. Then, you know, immigration stuff, like they want us to deport the Mexicans, block the Middle East, you know, take advantage of people. He kind of continues on with the same series of, like, ideas, but my favorite is the last line where he's like, my family are immigrants, does that make me a subspecies? I don't know, this is a 5. Like, it's so powerful, it's so well thought out. It's like some of the personal stuff he drops here feels a little, I find, like, everyone almost writes that song, but not everyone has the intelligence, the emotional wisdom, and the emotional maturity to even approach the subject matter he touched on this song the way he did. And it makes me, like, respect and want to sit down and have a conversation with the guy, even more so than becoming a fan of his music, let's say. So yeah, great, amazing track.
Yeah, I think he's great. You know, I also, like, kind of jotted down that he was talking about, like, gentrification and also the land belonging to the natives, which I think are two really important things that are affecting and have affected, like, a lot of some of, like, the lower classes and, like, some of the people who are struggling. So, you know, that's, like, a big issue on them. And then he points out that you go to school so that you can get a job to pay off your schooling. And just, like, that stress of having this amount of debt on your shoulders is like so stressing that you're going to need a therapist. And I agree with that. Like, I'm like looking back and I was like, really? Was this degree worth it? I don't know. I'm not trying to like, prevent anybody from going to school or anything.
Just to counter that, I dropped out of school and it ended up unlocking a path of life that seriously created a career opportunities that like has my day job being set for life as a dropout in a way where a lot of graduates are struggling. Mm-hmm. Just to throw it out there, not to say school is bad. It's very specific to what you want to do with life.
Yeah, of course. And I think that, he also, as, being like a student and having a degree, he has a degree in African American history or literature or something like that, or just African American culture. I don't know. And so he has like all of that knowledge and he has that degree and he's also saying the same sort of thing. And he's like, wow, and like, this is an interesting way for him to be able to use that degree and like that knowledge as well. He's able to talk about these kind of issues in an intelligent way. And, agenda, there's often a political agenda, like who's kind of going after things, and it could be like from, like the main, top of government right down to the town hall in your community that is, causing there to be some maybe rifts or like issues in the society. And he's kind of judging society overall for all these things that are kind of crappy, I guess. Yeah. He kind of talks about the immigrant issue as well. And he also remembers a time when Black people weren't even treated like humans, like they were treated like animals. And like, so he's kind of has like the two sides of things where he's African American and he's Iranian and like Persian. So he's kind of got like, two bad things kind of going for him. He's, assumed a terrorist and an immigrant. And, again, he's got like the like skin color as well as, and maybe some features that are more African American. So he's kind of got that, against him as well. And it just kind of, I think he's kind of like stuck in like kind of a dark hole, I guess. That's, judgment. I don't know if that came out properly, but anyways, I give this a 4.25. It was a good song. It was well written. It was powerful. It was intelligent.
Okay, so now let's talk about the margin.
Exes said it with clarity. If I continue this way, I'll wake up one day with nobody.
All right, how do you feel about this song?
I like this one. It sounded like kind of creepy and like very like gothic and like churchy or like something like that. Like it just had that kind of like sad and spiritual sound to it. One Coco, she's featured on this album and her voice is very, very cool. It has like a very interesting sound to it. And we have the gun sound that he makes with his mouth. And I'm not sure, is it destined to be a hit just because of that?
Okay. Bonnie loves the gun sounds for those of you
whenever there's
here.
Gun sounds incorporated into the beat, it can't be bad.
Go on.
Trick to making a hit. They can't get out of this life. This is like when and where they're kept and like where they're put. And it's just like this constant struggle. So it's a questioning race and class a little bit, kind of like how the last song was kind of questioning that as well. So this is clearly like an issue and a theme that he sees to be talked about. And he's a smart guy and he asks smart questions and he sounds good when he's doing it. He makes you listen to his like intelligent questions and thoughts. Again, like he has that university degree. So I imagine that he knows what he's talking about. And that the classes and races are divided, and unless that stops, nothing's going to change. He's kind of just saying like this is kind of what's going on. So I think it's like a solid beat. And the message is like a solid message. And it's just sort of like his view on the societies in the world, but I think it's obviously especially in America where he's living. So I guess a 4.5 on 5.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like kind of just showing maybe, I don't want to say it's an attack on capitalism, but maybe on just how numbers focused we all are and living within the various margins of success of our life. Like, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what's coming over me. I used to pray on my knees begging to God to notice me. So it starts off with his being a little bit confused. Maybe the problem is me. Maybe my demons are trolling me. We're there. We're there. We're at the point in life where demons can now troll people. And
True.
I really enjoyed that. That was a great... I've never heard trolling used in that context before, almost spiritual. But now it's happened. And that was a great moment. So if nothing else, Mozart, I'm happy I heard that line. I could have easily signed with a label, but I don't want no one controlling me. And that's a cool line. You get the sense that, like...
He doesn't want anybody to fuck with him.
Because
right?
he doesn't want to lose his integrity and stuff, as we find out. I know integrity is better than money, but money is something I know I need. But people are desperately looking for purpose, but nothing in this life is free. You pay with your soul, you pay with your sanity, you pay with your wallet or wallow in pity, because nothing is guaranteed. And he goes on from there, but like, it's like the struggle and the balance of the fact is, like, everyone out there can be like, I don't want to sell out. And then you go to, like, try to live and, like...
It's hard.
Everything costs money. And as you get older, especially in your 30s, it's like at that point, you've got, like, a decade of fucking up behind you. And that's going to have come with some expensive mistakes along the way for most of us. So or you got sick if you're in America and you have no insurance or something. Or all sorts of stuff.
Or you went to school.
Yeah, like you put out there, there's just so much things that could have happened over the course of your 20s. So, you look at the situation and you really come down to that point where you realize that you have to have money in this world that we live in over here.
Yeah.
And it's just so fucking strange almost, and then I really liked how he kind of goes a little bit longer into one of the things he says near the end of the verse. See, one of my exes said it with clarity: if I continue this way, I'll end up with nobody there for me. So evidently the path that he's on is one of solitude. It's not really conducive to really building successful relationships and such. I look at the people online posting pics of relationship goals, but then I check back in a week and I'm like, where'd they relationship go? And I'm like, ooh. And I think we all have seen that. We all know what the hell that's talking about.
Yeah.
And
the fizzle out of Facebook relationships.
And you're just like, damn, he's so astute. And like, I feel like parts of this may feel dated in a while, depending, like if Facebook dies in the next 5 years or whatever, maybe, but he does it in a way where it might just not, and that's really cool. So I appreciated that. The second verse kind of moves on to stuff like, I get the feeling that people are feeling the fakeness of what they've been fed. It's a lie. Everything is a commercial. They murder your spirit and sell it back to you surprised. This is the price of the life you covet, the things you thirst, and the people you lust. You can spend all your attention and money to purchase your friends, but cannot buy trust. So here we really focus in on, I want to say, like, the commercialism of life. I feel like saying the commercialism of life, I'm more comfortable with that than attacking an economic system. So, like, the way that everything feels like a commodity. I know even sometimes I've had moments in my life where I've met people and I run the equation of, they're a good friend to have. When I hang out with them, they buy me stuff. So I should hang out with that person. They're fun, and or if you ever have that point where you've ever come into some money and you try to buy the affection of people in your life. I don't mean sex. I mean, you just like try to get friends and stuff. It just ends up being hollow and not what you're looking for. And I don't know, it was really good. He flows on in the last way and kind of points out the toxicity of the kind of mentality that comes with it. But he really says something that I thought was interesting when he goes, no longer human, we used to consuming, we pray to the things to which we have found. I met a girl in a small town. She put a couple big things in perspective. She said the people in the city love wealth. Because of that, we're all disconnected. And I really thought about it. Most of us live in cities now. Most of us don't live in the country. And most of us that live in cities really do love wealth for XYZ reason. So I wonder if country people have some secret figured out because they don't love wealth as much. I don't know if that was the implication. But
it's just because they don't, they live off of the land a little bit and they're a little bit more
self-sufficient or whatever. Yeah, and you just get the sense that if everybody's living in cities chasing the Wolf of Wall Street dreams, like here we are and it's kind of destroying us internally. So maybe it's just this desire to get wealthy and materialistically wealthy. That's the problem. Anyway, this song is really fucking cool. I give it a 4.5 on 5. I think the girl in the chorus has a lovely voice for what it is, but I didn't really like the delivery. I don't know what it is. Like, something about the choruses on this album just didn't sit right with me, whereas these verses are absolutely insane and deep and thought out and so interesting. Anyway, 4.5 on 5. I really enjoyed it. Now let's talk about The One.
The thought of commitment I left on the shelf, preoccupied with looking outside for something I knew.
This one has him, like, dealing with some relationshipy stuff.
Yep.
It seems like he's with a girl, and they're a little bit of fuck friends, not so, like, super serious, in that first verse, at least. And he gets with her, and she wants more right away, and he continuously downplays it, like, she wants to be like a friend, and it complicates things, and it messes it up. Then in that second verse, we get the sense that he's kind of decided, oh shit, I really like this girl, I want to be with her. But because of his previous behaviors, it's created a deep sense of distrust between them, complicating the longevity of the relationship in light of the fact that he had his insecurities earlier on that created some irreparable damage. And now he's just trying to figure out how to make it all work and get with her and make it like proper, like win her back almost. And yeah. That was an interesting, honest, like, song, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, I think it's really cool how when it starts off, he's got, like, it's something that's telling me, and just at that point, just that line, like, it's almost like there's a voice in his head talking to him. Yeah. And so he doubles the voiceover on the verse, and it's almost like you hear him saying these lines, but you really hear the voice in his head almost saying it to him at the same time. So it's something telling me I should leave now, end it right now, stop it all out, cut your losses, let her find someone who loves her for her, don't be so selfish and thoughtless, you know. And he kind of goes into some whatever, he's a bit of a player, he's not necessarily respecting her, and it's this internal battle of what he's dealing with. I've been in a few moments like that in my life, and I've had a few feelings like that in my day, and I thought it was really just honest. The chorus is okay. It's sung out by Olamide Faison. It's nice. And then I do like the tone shift on the second verse where he kind of flips it, because I've also gone through that transition where you look at that situation and then how do you convince this person, like, oh, now I'm serious. Now I'm ready to do it after telling them, well, there's you, but I'm going to do what I got to do for a while. Like, you know, it's kind of hard to get past those barriers, but it's probably a little more honest on how many of us actually get into relationships in this hookup Netflix and chill era. So I really dug it. I give it a 4.5 on 5. The way he delivers emotional situations has an eloquence to it, but as far as quotables go, I mean, it's just a story that he did. That's the song.
Okay. I feel like I took it. I just like did the wrong thing or whatever. But like my interpretation of the story was a little bit different than Holden's. But it still sounded like very powerful. I still very much enjoyed the piano. Again. For me, I took away the message as like, don't keep going back to the girl you love if you're honest with yourself, because like, you know that you can't give her what she like needs and what she wants. Like, don't be selfish. And I think that he's kind of looking back and realizing now that he was wrong. And, you know, even though he thought she still was the one, like, he still ruined it. Like, the damage is done and he can't go back to her. And like at the beginning, he talks about just letting her go. And I think that's, you know, he has to let her go. He can't cling on to, like, you know, he kind of let the one slip away. Probably didn't, you know, treat her right or give her what she needed. And, but he does talk about, like, the fact that he opened up to her, you know, but she wanted more. And he obviously, like, destroyed that opportunity. And he's not really sure how it happened. And I'm guessing it was, like, little things, like, here and there that just kind of, like, added up. And then the girl was like, no, I can't do it anymore. So for me, this was about like a love that was lost, like sort of like how you lost like the one, you know, and she's with some other man, and you have to, like, you know, learn to be aware of when it's time to like let go of your ex and like let her be free or let him be free or whatever. Yeah, that's what I took away from this. So it was a 4.25 on 5 for me.
All right, it's pretty fucking hot in our home.
It is.
That I'm paving, it's like they want to drink from the same bath that they bathe in. I did my best.
This one is such a radio song, but one of those like positive, upbeat, like good message radio songs. Like,
Yep.
I don't mean to like come off in a negative sense, but I
There's
don't know.
nothing wrong with that.
No, it was so like, and then Rebecca Noble does it, her chorus, and it's like the Skylar Grey chorus to the Eminem song, or it's just so. And I don't want to be like a dick when I say generic, but it's generic in the kind of way you want a guy like Locksmith, who you've never heard of, to have that understanding of what pop music is. Because I find so often, and it might be against some of the criticisms I've made, but I find so often the underground dudes with the great messages have no idea how to make a pop song, and that's to their detriment. So this was kind of fun to listen to, especially when the verses do kick in and he starts to just say some interesting shit like, I used to stare at the television and dream of a life free of disparity. When I was young, they tried to put me in therapy, but my mother got explicit addressing the school district like, this boy's got a gift, either you're blind or you don't care to see. And something that I've thought about for a while is if I was like 6 years younger, I would have been given a lot of ADHD and like probably told like I was fucking crazy or whatever. But for whatever reason, my teachers tolerated my weird behavior because I got good grades or whatever. And I ended up turning out to be the proper 30-year-old weirdo that I am. But at the end of the
With
day,
some help.
right? But like, when you really think about, like, kids are supposed to be hyper creative beings,
Yeah.
and it's almost like people are so willing to drug up their children to shut them the fuck up, and or like subdue passion when they see it because it's unruly, or it might be a little more challenging. And the fact that it's like his mom stood up to the school system and gave them the finger and shit, I don't know, that got me in the feels to hear those words and stuff. And then it's like we carelessly judge things that are different, and if we don't understand them, we stand back in resentment, you know. And it's really cool because he takes such an innocuous thing like his own little experience being a little bit wild in school and special. And then, considering some of the more political themes we've heard on the album, safely contextualizes the way he sees indifference and stuff also, and just takes those denser themes and makes it like safer and sneaks it into this radio or song, you know? And I really like that. I like when he goes, instead of chasing opportunities, I just follow what's in my heart now. Embark now on the new path that I'm paving. And that's cool because so many people I've watched chasing opportunities. It's something I did too when I was younger. Like, oh, I mean, I make music, so, oh, that guy could make me a beat. Yo, that's an opportunity. I'm going to go get that opportunity. And you just waste time chasing dreams of people who might not be involved or interested or whatever. And when you start just kind of working on your craft and focusing on what you're meant to be doing, opportunities appear. You don't chase them, you know? Like, it's so wise what he's saying in all of these songs. I like the second verse too. He keeps going with it. I mean, this one ends so positive. Say strong and you'll make it. You know, like it's hard when you're aiming. It's only wrong if you waste it. Say strong, you make it, so you can learn from your mistakes. You're gonna make it. Don't worry if life kicks you when you're down. It's normal. The second verse has lines like, and it's human nature to feel hatred rather than look foolish, assuming that it suits the idea. I'm the first to admit my basis for choosing women was superficial. I will repeat the same steps and expect new results and be repulsed by the action I was forced to live through. And so he's kind of admitting that, like, you know, again, that the same dense way he does, we don't like what's different. We prefer to pick hatred over admitting that maybe we're wrong, and then gives up a specific example within himself how he was wrong in a kind of sense where hatred might be created in the way that he mistreated women and expected them to behave differently, when at the end of the day it was his actions that were creating the circumstances that were in his life. And it goes on like that, and it touches on in a little more of a top level 3. Then you think the song is going to end. And then we have verse 3 where he continues to kind of bond and point out how we all have our stuff to deal with, and we all, as long as we're able to like accept that it's easier to be ourselves than to be someone else, we'll make it through. And it's one of those songs, but he does it so well that I gave it a 4.5 on 5. I really enjoyed it.
All right, cool. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm probably going to touch on a lot of the same things. The fact that he was put into therapy as a kid, when he was just different and talented, and how his mother was mad at the school for not seeing, like, the potential in him again. And Rebecca Nobel, her voice is lovely again. I'm glad, she makes the song, extra good. He has to find a way home and figure out who he is. He's learning, and he has learned how to treat women and how to look at them in order to find love. And, it's better than what he had been doing, I'm guessing. He has to change his behavior and his actions. And it's kind of like a positive message, to other, like, men, like you have to make sure that you look at women for different reasons. You can't look at them like that, hashtag me too, right? There's all that. And he's misstepped, he's made his mistakes, and he has to find a better way in life. And he's learning from those mistakes. And it's easier in life if you're honest with yourself and you find worthy, and you feel worthy of good things. And when you shift perspective on life and on people, better things will happen to you. And, it'll put you on a more positive track and more positive, future for yourself. And it's the only way to make it out of this world alive is basically what he's saying. And I like the hammering sound that was featured in verse 3 behind it. It was like kind of hard work to like overcome flaws. And like the weaknesses in your character that needed work. But once you do that work, you become a better person, and then you will feel like you're at home and you're at peace and, in your own heart, and that you are comfortable and you are, your self-esteem will grow, and you're just going to feel better about everything. So I give it a 4.75 on 5. It's a powerful song about being better, which I enjoy those kinds of songs, and how it feels good to like overcome like all like the negativity like from your past and like, be a better person.
And if you do like it, the last track on this album is a live version of this song that we won't talk about in the podcast, but it's this live, and it's delivered well, and it sounds good.
Yep. Let's talk about Sanity.
Before I lose mine.
The problem is what is instilled in. But what if you black and you half Middle East?
How did you feel about Sanity?
I like this one. It was very aggressive and very like, and he's very angry. It's a very angry song about his feeling towards racism, and how he's kind of two of like the hated identities, and like kind of very angry and aggressive about that. And then one of the lyrics I wrote down was, "Life is a right for all of us, not a privilege. How can you kill and then sleep through the night?" And these lines stood out to me because of the way people look down like their nose at people kind of in poor communities, and not everybody has what you have, and not everybody deserves, but everybody deserves to live. And you shouldn't begrudge them that right, basically. And eventually people are going to get angry about this and something will happen. It's kind of like a rise up of like, the poorer class or like the hated people or, anybody that's pushed down, basically. Like this is like your time to rise up and like take what is yours. He's kind of like very like aggressive about it, right? I gave this one a 4 on 5. It was a very powerful song, but I felt like it was lacking in something. Like there was something missing.
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but there's just something about the hook that didn't do it for me again on this one. The beat was nice and the aggression was proper, especially with the subject matter.
Yeah.
Like he comes in, and I think Bonnie touched on the first verse really well. I like it though that he's like, I know the target they're aiming at is me, when he's talking about like in context to his ethnicity and everything. Fuck it, I said I just want to be free. And it's such a powerful like idea that at the end of the day, that's what they're really fighting for, is freedom of whatever. And when you consider where he comes from, and even if you just look at what's going on in Iran and Africa, it's like, as people, it's not just necessarily him. At least that's how I took that, I know that hatred is never the answer. The cancer is bleeding through all of the speech. How you react to an act with a cynical tact is the reason your spirit is breached. And I've never understood that, man. Like somebody shoots up a school or something, and people make troll comments and share stupid, obvious fake news that supports. Or the worst is a celebrity dies, and now everyone's making up conspiracy theories to like have a good laugh, or
even when everybody started spreading a rumor about a celebrity having died, but they didn't.
Or Harambe.
Harambe.
But like even Harambe is just the example of like people want to have a good laugh at the expense of everyone else, and that's just how we get our jollies these days. The second verse is fucking interesting, right? So picture frame with a missing name on a right stand in a mother's room. So you have the guy who's growing up. Guy gets born, grows up to be a father, comes in really solid, like the beat shifted and shit. It turns out he chooses to be a cop, which creates a degree of resentment. And I think it implies that he ends up actually killing somebody, you know, or creating the same circumstances that caused him to become a cop in the first place because of his actions as a police officer. But I may be wrong. It kind of pivots into something else pretty quickly after he contextualizing that, you know, he is a cop and maybe not everybody's on board with his new lifestyle choice. I did like when he goes, write you a speech that won't bring back a life, type out a tweet that won't fully suffice. We're so disconnected that we disrespect and just look at each other with spite. And I feel that so much. I used to participate in that so much, as I guess more of it. I used to be such a dick online with my opinions and my blah, blah, blahs. And now or you see the hopes and prayers. I don't know if you saw the hopes and prayers game that floats around where like people are always offering their hopes and prayers, but then it goes through all the national tragedies in the States for a while, and you can hit the hope button and you can hit the prayer button, and all the tragedies still happen even though you hoped and prayed that many times. And it's just kind of like that, you know, like we all feel good when we change our profile pics or tweet and stuff. I don't do that stuff because it doesn't make me feel good. I don't feel like it accomplishes that much to, like, for me, it was like in college, I would watch SAGEP, our college.
Yeah.
I would watch every year. There'd be like a hot new country in Africa to get excited about, and we'd never get like a resolution. We'd just always be finding a new cause to feel good about.
Whatever happened to Kobe? Was it? I
don't know what you're talking about, to be honest.
What was that guy that there was like posters and stuff? Anyways, if you know what I'm talking about, Kobe or something?
If you know what
if you guys know what I'm talking about, it was like 2008, I want to say, where like there was like a huge to do with him, and he was involved with, I believe, it's the stealing of young women.
You're talking about like I don't know which one it is. It
was really popular in social media.
Right. And so anyway, we get these causes, and I'm not going to say that there aren't efforts that get made with them that result in good things, but I'm saying more from the intent of a person involved in the process. We often support stuff to feel better, and I thought that was interesting. I give it a 4.25 though, because there is something about the song that is a little, like, as a song, you know, maybe it just didn't stand out enough. It sounded a little generic, but it's the right kind of like, I love this shit, right? So in general, I'd put on this record, hit play, and most of it, it's maybe some of the poppier stuff I'd skip over depending on my mood, but his talent is there. He's exactly a really great rapper, you know? I feel a little helpless as I stammer through these words.
All right, let's find out.
After work, walking on Bissell. Bullets mean less when you used to dealing with.
All right, Bonnie, how do you feel about this one?
Pretty helpless.
Okay.
So here we have featured again Olamide Faison. And yeah, she's great. Like the beat of this song at the beginning, it sounds very like trippy, and like I was listening to it on headphones, and it kind of like kept going back and forth, and I like that. So this is basically about his views and on social media and our addiction to that and that distraction. He's saying like we can't relate to real people anymore, and he talks about, you know, like the history of himself and like both of his grandmothers, and like, you know, how there was one that was seeing like wars in Iran, and like when you have a place that's in a war zone, like, you know, all of that, you know, stuff on social media doesn't feel like anything, you know, it's not important, and because life is feeling like pointless, and, you know, it feels like you almost want to give up from the chase because like you're just constantly like feeling like being attacked, and like, you know, someone's coming after you, and a bomb's gonna go off, and, you know, you're on like a constant like high level of anxiety and stress. And don't live off of the base. Don't live your life based off of the opinions of other people, like that you see around you, that you see on social media. Because if you want to do that, you can fall into that trap, or you cannot, and you can be free. You can be away from all of that nonsense and judgment and like unnecessary garbage in your life, which is social media. And yeah, you can be free from that if you just don't have any of that. But yeah, I mean, it was a nice song overall. I give it a 4 on 5.
That's cool. Yeah, in the first verse, it's kind of like, I guess, the black side of his family, and his grandma's kind of talking about how social media is the devil, and, you know, he kind of... I like the way he goes, I'd rather respond with a laugh than take a stand, you know? So he just kind of plays it down rather than actually arguing with her or disrespecting her by trying to be right, you know? Mm-hmm. And then the honesty you found in that statement is ironic. I didn't fully get that line, but it was something I wanted to think about. So I'm hoping somebody can comment on that and now fill me in. But that was cool. You pray to God, then worship our data plans. And so I guess it's just kind of like
the important
she's
things.
Right. She's pointing out how this is how we treat it, and it's true. It kind of pulls out. And then he goes on like that. But I really do think that the first verse is kind of like we're helpless because of our lack of social interaction and our inability to actually deal with people. Then the second verse does talk about the, you know, Iranian situation with the war zone and all of that. Like, bullets mean less when you're used to dealing with missiles, and it's hard to fall asleep when there's bombs exploding nightly, and the stress you get to witnessing death scars your psyche, and it's likely caused by the country you came to rearrange the site only to find you get the same view. So like he's almost like saying he comes here and like in the situation and the shit we complain about here is honestly nothing compared to where they come from. But the reality is the country they've now come to escape that war zone is the one that's creating the war zone in the first place, and it's a bit of a fucked up situation. And the third verse kind of goes into a little bit more just kind of talking about how like people try to make modesty a weakness, and he's saying it's not. There's a difference between modesty and helplessness, and how you should be modest while staying true to yourself again, and kind of drilling in that message and whatnot. I like this one more than the last few. I gave this a 4.5 on 5. It's strong. It's got a really powerful and interesting message. It's like, I don't think I've ever really thought about, you know, the Iranian immigrant who's coming from missiles and war zones and a war started by the States, like coming to the States. And those are the kinds of things I like thinking about because I feel like they make my mind more open. And that's really cool. I like the beat on this one. I don't have a lot more to say. So one more time. Do. Do you enjoy the beautiful singing of Sangin, Sara?
I do. She did have a very lovely voice.
Yeah, no. And she's like saying like she appreciates the times we had together, but selfishly, I wish you were still here. You make me better. This one's about his dead mother, and he's kind of like singing to her and like talking to her. So you have her on the chorus kind of doing the more singy, emotionally driven version of that. I guess the ambiance side of it.
Angelic voice, like, you know.
It's really nice. And then he kind of like starts off that first verse describing the moment his mom died, the time, of place, etc., and just a bit of the feeling that comes with it. But the way he ends that verse is just not how I was expecting. Again, it's so cool that he can take what might be like a generic song concept and find a new twist to it to like excite you, you know? So you get something new. And so he finds solace in all of the bad and painful things that he still has to witness that at least she gets to escape from. So she passed away, I believe, in 2010. So she missed Trump. She missed everything, I guess, you know?
Yeah, thank goodness, huh?
So, like, he starts off like, you don't have to deal with the wickedness that I'm seeing. It's crazy how we treat human beings. You won't believe it. Every week a different murder. The police just murmur. People post it up on their phone through service. We shun the truth and praise negligence. Presidential candidates are openly prejudiced, lie for whatever, more divided than ever. Contamination in our water, better try to do better. Nonprofits are non-profits that profit off your emotions so executives can pay for their promotion. It's fucked up. Man. So, like, everyone's kind of a worse person. We treat each other like shit. He comments on the police brutality of, you know, people getting gunned down and how you constantly see it being posted up in the news.
Yep.
People are literally on their phones in church, not paying attention. We're not into like the truth. We praise like assholes, our characteristics that we worship are not the right ones. Flint, Michigan is proof to the pudding of contamination in the water. It's absolutely a disgusting what happened over there. And then I love the nonprofits line where they kind of point out how all of these things exist and executives make a shit ton of money. Like if you look at the Donald Trump nonprofit situation, it's like they got points and stuff. And then like it kind of goes into the second verse. He's kind of sad that he never made her a grandmother. Rap kind of made that a little bit hard for him. He couldn't really, but he's also like questioning if you'd even want to bring a kid into this world for how awful and fucking negative and shitty it is. And I like when he's like, people pray to God and the government for the answers, but you ain't even smoke and you still died of cancer. And it's just like, fuck, eh? Like we're all trying to find this shit out there, but still the randomest stuff can still happen. It's a really cool take on like this styled song. It's very personal, very like if I were coping with some darkness like that in my life right now, I'd really want to be listening to this because it's so well done. But I'm not really in the headspace for the song, so I appreciate and admire it and see what he's doing with it. But I do think this is a song to relate to, so I give it a 4.25.
Yeah, I gave it the same thing actually, the 4.25. I mean, it's a very heartfelt song overall. It's just about wishing that his deceased mother was still there and still with him. And like, the Sara, Sangin Sara or whatever, is singing about that. And, you're probably more, he's kind of saying that you're kind of more in a more peaceful place than where he is in like, the States right now. And it sounds like he went through a pretty like serious depression after his mom died. And people relying on the government, the one that screws them over, and like, kind of judging that as well. He misses his mom and he wishes, he could just see her one more time is basically like the gist of this song. So yeah, 4.25, I gave it, and it was heartfelt. That was it.
All right. So Locksmith got home and he wants to smash Neck Pillow.
Yeah.
I'm on the way. Fuck what they say, yeah. I'm on the way.
So like I said, he got home from like being on the road a whole bunch and he was flying around and it's been a few weeks and he's been a good boy and he wants to unload his load and enjoy the moment and stuff. Yeah, that's what this song is about.
I know, but
I'm trying to find creative ways to say it, okay? He wants to unload his load on her face, something like that. I mean, he's politer than I'm being. He's very respectful in the song, so he doesn't quite come in so crass. But
he's not just like, psst.
Why waste a moment to even unpack? I'm going to leave my bag sitting by the front door. All this talking, we using up time. You can come first. We ain't got to rush, though. He's going to eat her pussy. That's what he's saying there. He's going to go first and make sure she knows she's appreciated. Because everybody knows when a girl is appreciating you, what she does in return is very lovely and always of an enhanced level of quality. And he knows that, so he's playing the game. We ain't got to rush, though. 3,000 miles been on my mind. I can care less if the neighbors wake up, though. They know. So he going to make her make noise because he wants to get the validation points of fucking her like a champ.
And he's only home like, one night only,
And then the next verse, he's like, call up your manager, tell him you're handling personal business, you're going to be late. Matter of fact, tell him you're working from home. We'll keep going while you're on the phone. Just mute it. They're never going to know. That's the song. It's a 4 on 5. It's clever. It's creative. It's kind of like I felt like it was a ladies' jam. Like maybe if I was a lady, I'd feel this more because it's kind of got a romantic twist on the I Want to Smash.
Men can be romantic too,
But I don't want to hear this song. Like there's not a lot here for me to want to go listen to again on this. Like this isn't.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Well, yeah. So I mean, this is basically a song about that he travels a lot and he gets home to his lady and she's been waiting and he's been waiting. But he only has one night back, and then he's kind of like out again. So he's just kind of like, let's not waste any time. And maybe like the neck pillow like refers to like maybe he's like he just got in and got went straight to her. That maybe he still has like his neck pillow like
or maybe
on
she's
his neck.
wrapped her legs around him in a way that's like a neck pillow.
That might be it. Nobody knows. Anyway, Anywho, so that's basically what this is. Call your boss, tell him you're working from home. He's basically gonna have all the sex with her, and that's
all
it.
the sex.
All of it.
And then after you've had all the sex, you extend the olive branch.
Wait, I'm not done.
Oh, you're not done?
No.
Okay, go on.
Damn. So he's like waiting for her love, and it's clearly been, too long for both of them. And he's on his way back. He gets excited, and it's just sort of like his story about being on the road. So it's good. It's honest. It's a little bit sexy. So I gave it a 4.25.
So just to point it out, it's been so long, and he's a little bit excited, so he knows he's got to go first and give her some pleasure because he's not going to last. Okay, now let's talk about the olive branch.
Okay.
Regardless of race, gender, religion, or rappers who co-sign a politician, still a politician.
Bonnie, how do you feel about the olive branch?
Delicious.
Wait, what?
No, I don't know. I've never actually eaten an olive branch. I don't really like olives. Anyways.
But do you like olive oil?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is sort of like the faint records of some OG rappers in the background, which I liked. It goes that maybe he's listening to music as he's writing his music. He's getting inspiration from past artists. And don't be fooled if you think anyone's going to extend you the olive branch and try to help you. And you must be joking if you think anybody's going to help you at all in this world or in this industry or anywhere. Because they won't. So his depression that he was talking about, with his mom, having passed away, he really was put into a really dark place for 4 years. He said that he was in this depression, and then after that he was pulled out of it, and he finally got back to the grind and focused on his dream again, and that's kind of what had got him out of that kind of dark place in his life. So this is his therapy, and this is his feelings. This is where he's able to help clear his mind and kind of get over things and move on with his life. This is where he's able to let out his emotions, which is great. So this is him, and this is his story. Rap is what he is. Rap is a part of what he is, I guess. And he's built for this life. He is born to be a rapper. He's he is what he is. And so this is it just sounds like he's confident and he's ready to get back into the world, and he's ready to feel better and do better things and get out of that, like I said, the sort of sitting under the cloud like Eeyore or whatever. So now he's ready to get out there. So I gave it a 4.25.
Okay. I think this is the best song on the album. I think it comes in, the beat's insane because it's a two-parter kind of beat. And there's no real chorus to kind of for me to complain about it being a bad chorus.
That's true.
So it comes in strong, and he's just going on, and he's kind of again commenting on how people seem to have these expectations and stuff, and how they're not willing to work or fix the things inside of their life that are preventing them from success, such as when he goes, expect nothing, and no one will work as hard as you do. So I'm confused when these communists stress over shit they should have corrected before they started. They begging for my advice, but I'm focused on my success forward. Every mistake that I ever made was a growth point. I understand the bruise that you take when fall, and don't point the finger and blame it on another person and striving to do what others do. Anyway. So you get the sense that he's laying out, in a sense, stuff like the laws of power or just how to approach a situation properly. Don't go up to people complaining about things that you can obviously handle inside of your life. Don't be shocked that things are coming over or transpiring. Plan, learn from your mistakes, understand what's going on, do the different things that you got to do. Don't just expect advice from him. And another key takeaway is that when you are on the grind and doing it, is don't give advice to these people. So often I get perceived as an asshole by a lot of people because maybe I try to take that too seriously, but I'm not a therapist and I'm not good at it. So when people come to me with their problems and try to get me to give them advice and get me to care, I'm bad at it. So then I do it wrong and I'm a bigger asshole in the grand scheme of things. But at the end of the day, maybe I just wasn't qualified or in a position to offer that support in the first place,
Yeah.
I'm too worried about, I got to worry about the plank in my own eye, not the speck of dust in your eye. And once that's not in my eye, maybe we can have that conversation. But I feel like I wonder if more people worried about themselves, if they would do better in life, because we are very focused on other people. He goes in and he just kind of flows that. I like when he's like, because regardless of race, gender, or religion, rappers co-signing a politician is still a politician, and the problem isn't what most discovered. Instead of complaining, I started working while most would suffer. And I like that, He's like, regardless to your situation, if you have a rapper even co-signing a politician, that dude's still going to be a politician. And while all of y'all are just sitting there complaining about whatever, I'm flipping it around inside of myself, and I'm going out there and I'm putting in the work to figure out what I got to do with myself to achieve the next levels in life. And he goes on and describes the part where he was depressed and his girl told him to get his shit together, and instead of rapping these rapidy rap songs and putting them out for like nobody and putting them in the vault and pretending to be a rapper, he's like, you were built for this. He's got it and he's going to handle it, and now it's time for him to do it, and that's what this whole project is. And considering the amount of music videos he's released to support this and all of that, like, he's really has been putting in the work. I give this a 5. It's a phenomenal way to end this project. Yeah, I guess that's the end of this one. There was that live version that we're not going to talk about because it was a live version of a song we already talked about.
Yeah, we don't really cover that kind of stuff.
So yeah, what did you think about this project as a whole?
I mean, it was pretty amazing. Like overall, for somebody that I've never heard of and somebody that's like still, pretty relevant. I'm surprised I haven't heard of him. I gave this a 4.375, so it's like a 87.5%. So I mean, it's a classic. It verifies, and it's every song, whether or not it's to your taste or whatever like that. It's it's great composition. It's well written. It's well executed. There's thought behind everything. He's very powerful. He's kind of opening himself up to you in the sense that he doesn't open himself up to a lot of people, but he will in his music. He opens up and shares his life kind of story and like his messages and points of views and criticisms and things like that, in his music, and like that's his way of expressing himself. And I think that's great. I think he's a great artist, and keep up the good work.
Cool. I give it a 4.47 on 5. I don't know if I want to call it a classic, because I was watching that Hip Hop DX video on classics, and it says part of being a classic is time. So it's a little early, I think, to call it that, but it's so close to what I consider to be a classic grade that I'd say it's a really great example of what a classic album in today's sound should sound like. I would say this album is a better look. I mean, it's lyrically sound. Every song is different about a different subject matter. The beats are a little fluffy sometimes. The choruses are a little weak sometimes, and I think that's my biggest criticisms with it. But him, Locksmith, on his verses, never fails. Every song is interesting, except maybe they Come Home and Sleep with the Girl song.
It's still honest and true.
It's just not as interesting, but he has enough interesting stuff to like make up for that. This album is one of those ones to go up to your friends when your friends go, ain't nobody making lyrical rap music that means something, but they also can't handle listening to 1990 sounds. So this is a good example of like a good album that has modern enough production to make people
to like pass
shut
on to
the fuck
people
up and not be a wanker about it, but also with the kind of content that ain't nobody can listen to this project and be like hip hop is stupid or hip hop is this or hip hop is that. Because this album, it's like I keep finding these examples, but you know what? These early 30s guys, I respect them. I'm 30. So knowing that if by 33 I could be half as wise as this dude, that's fucking encouraging and shit. That's really cool. I would say check this out. Thank you, Mozart. Great recommendation.
Yeah.
On that note, thank y'all for watching. It's freaking incredible that you sit through it and check out these reviews with us. It always means the world.
Yes, appreciate.
So, yeah, if you do like it, you can always hit that subscribe button. You can like the video if you do. So thanks again to Mozart, and Linda Williams. They're our patrons. This video was a request raffle choice. So because they're at that tier in Patreon, they're able to request albums.
You can too.
So they each gave one. This time, Mozart won. Next month, they're each going to give another one. One of them's going to win, and you can join them and then throw in what you want to see requested. You'll also get access to content early, and a couple other things will flush out as time goes on. Anyway, however much you love us. It's a great way to help us get better gear and not be quite so in this room. So thank you, everyone. It's so amazing to be here with us. You can follow us on Twitter and holler if you want to have some conversations. I know I'm watching you, DJ Dream Big. I got you on Twitter. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.